So now we've moved our object inside of the focal point. Now, this means we're going to get a virtual image. It's going to be a little bit different. However, we use the same three rules. We're going to keep on using the same three rules we have all along. So in my first rule, I'm going to take my arrow, draw it through the top of the object straight in, and it will bounce back through the focal point. Rule number one. In rule number two, I'm going to do the same thing as we've been doing. I'm going to go through the focal point, through the top of the object, and then it will go straight out. There we go. Rule number two. Rule number three, center of curvature, right, is my center of curvature rule. So I'm going to go through my center of curvature, through the top of the object, so they're lined up, and back along itself. Now you'll notice I have my three reflected rays, but they are no longer parallel. They are now going to cross. It's just they're not crossing on this side, right? Because they spread out on this side. Instead, remember, we're going to see a virtual image, which means if I was doing this in real life, I would have to look inside the mirror in order to see it. I'm not getting anything on a screen anymore. I've got a virtual image. I have to see it using my brain. So to do this, we're going to trace back the lines. So we're going to trace back the lines and see what we're going to get. So this first reflected ray would have entered my eye, and my brain's going to trace it back, and my brain really and truly believes light travels in a straight line. So it's going to trace it back along this path, and I'm using a dotted line to show that I'm tracing it back. I'll make it red so it matches, and my brain is going to trace that back. Then my brain will trace back the second one. And the second one, it's going to trace this line, right? This one coming off, it will trace it back. Oh, having some technical difficulties here. There we go. Trace it back along this route. So I will trace that one back. I'll make that one green. And then we're going to trace the third one back. And the third one is this one is the light reflected off, and it's going to trace it back. And you will see these three lines cross. It's just they cross behind the mirror, inside the mirror. But that is where the object will be seen as an image, is inside the mirror. So I'm going to draw in my image. You will notice I end up with this big, tall, upright arrow. Size-wise, that is definitely larger. It is much larger than the original arrow. Attitude, I'm no longer inverted. I'm now upright. It's facing upright, just like the original. Its location, you can say one of two things here. You could say it's closer because it's definitely closer to the mirror than the image was. You can also say it's behind the mirror because it is behind the mirror. It's inside the mirror. It's behind the mirror. I would accept either of those. And the type, well, now we're upright. It is also virtual. I also know it's virtual because there's no screen involved. I would only see this image by looking into the mirror and seeing that really big arrow inside the mirror.